everybody, Jason here, and today on Ghostbusters News, we're going to be taking a look at some Holy Grail Ghostbusters toys. Despite the fact that they are not licensed, they are knockoffs. Released in the 1980s by Sungold, say hello to the Spook Chasers. And these are action figures that for years here I've wanted to feature here on the channel, but I just haven't, mainly because the price on third-party sell sites such as eBay, yeah, those prices, they have been ridiculous. But recently I was able to grab a pretty decent deal on these. I mean, I don't really want to say what I paid because it's still kind of insane. But yeah, I got them, they're here today, and we're going to take a look at them, but first, I think we need to give a bit of a history lesson. Let's take things back to the mid-1980s. Ghostbusters, it was a box office success, and this would lead to Deke Animation snagging the rights to make a cartoon adaptation, with the Real Ghostbusters premiering in 1986. And being it was the 1980s, every cartoon show, it needed a toy line. And we got that and then some, thanks to Kenner. There were standard figures of the Ghostbusters themselves, Peter Venkman, Ray Stantz, Winston Zeddemore, and Egon Spengler, tons of Ghosts to Bust, and some of the best play sets of that era, namely the Ghostbusters Firehouse and also the Ecto-1. Now I know you're asking me, Jason, why are you telling us all about Real Ghostbusters and Kenner? We know about these things, we grew up on these things. Well, it's pivotal to the story, because around that time there was a smaller, more questionable toy company called Sungold. And Sungold, well, how can I put this politely? They are best known for their knockoffs. And this included serving up unique offerings inspired by franchises such as Masters of the Universe, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and as we're showing you today, obviously the Real Ghostbusters. Releasing in the late 80s, Spook Chasers, they were available mainly within Sweden. Now whether or not this availability, it was limited because of Columbia Pictures maybe stepping in, blocking distribution in North America, that is unknown. And given that limited availability and also the recent rise in popularity again of the Ghostbusters license and the franchise, I'm guessing that's probably what's led to these going from, $100 to $200 a figure like they were 5-6 years ago on eBay to now selling for $400 and $500. In similar fashion to the Real Ghostbusters, Spook Chasers, they include 4 hero characters. Now, they're never named, but it's pretty easy to identify which one's Peter, Egon, Ray, and Winston. And the way these figures are made, they're actually quite a bit different than Sungold's other offerings. As the company, they had a tendency of reusing body sculpts and molds over again, leading to many other action figures looking quite similar. However, each Ghostbuster, or should I say Spook Chaser, they boast an entirely unique sculpt from one another. Despite the varied sculpts, in likely what was a cost-cutting measure, the Spook Chasers, they do lack amongst their flight suits, with both Peter and Ray being cast in a light orange, while Egon and Winston, they're in a light blue. So obviously, Kenner, they offered a little bit more variety when it came to their 4. Articulation for each figure is a bit limited due to their construction, with the torso including both the head and legs, with the arms being attached by peg joints. Which means the only actual articulation you get with these is, the arms. They move up and they move down. That's it. The plastic they're made out of is also quite soft, meaning you can bend the legs just a little bit. However, this soft plastic, it does mean that the arms, they're not really as secure as they should be. In fact, they can pop off quite easily. I already kind of touched on the fact that the sculpts here, they're pretty much based on what Kenner offered up, and they do mimic them quite well. I mean, Ray, he's shorter, he's a bit plump around the waist. Egon, he's tall and lanky, and Winston and Peter, while quite similar, are still very much different. Fixating on the head sculpts, let's first take a look at Egon. And this one, he likely received the biggest makeover when compared to his Real Ghostbusters counterpart, because that light blonde hairdo with the big swirl, it has been replaced with something a bit more subdued. And the color here, it's white, making Egon look a lot older than he should be. And that's quite the hard task given those funky red glasses. I don't know, to me, he looks like he'd fit in perfectly well with the Maniac Mansion video game or the newest member of Power and Glory. Winston, he's likely the closest to his Kenner counterpart, albeit just with poofier gray hair, which again, like Egon, makes him feel quite a bit older, and that gray, it's used on the eyebrows, the eyes. I guess in the Spook Chasers universe, Winston, he has seen some that would turn his hair, well, gray. Next up, we've got the heart of the Spook Chasers, Ray. Or maybe he's just the smile of the Spook Chasers because, he's happy. Look at that face. Like Winston, he's quite close to his Kenner counterpart, maybe just slightly goofier looking. He's got thick eyebrows and brown hair to complete the look, and I don't know if it's just me, but the more I look at it, the more I'm kind of getting a Shrek vibe. Weird. Up last, we have got Peter, who, much like Ray, has been given a slick back hairdo. He has a smirk or a smile, kind of unsure what that's supposed to be. And when compared to the Kenner Peter figure, the Spook Chasers, it's got a massive head. Like, look at that cranium. It's okay, big head Peter. I feel your pain. When it comes to collecting the Spook Chasers, it is a rarity to find them included with their accessories. And this includes their yellow proton packs. They just peg right into the back, and then you can strap the Neutrona wand to the Spook Chaser's arm. And the way the wand attaches for the Spook Chasers, it's strangely better than what Kenner had with the Real Ghostbusters. As Kenner, they use plastic clips that could easily break, while Sun Gold here, they're just held in place by tension. And, yeah, they hold pretty well. Now looking at the Real Ghostbusters toys, namely again the Proton Pack and in particular the wand, had a really cool play feature where you could like twirl the proton stream around like this. It's fun. The Spook Chasers proton stream, if you want to call it that, it really seems like an afterthought, as it's meant really just to like grab a ghost and not much else. But something they do share with Kenner is sadly the streams themselves, they're very fragile, meaning you could break this without even trying. In fact, in my search for a full set of Spook Chasers, here's my Winston with Proton Pack and Stream next to another Winston with Proton Pack and no Stream. Now just a few moments ago, I mentioned how the Proton Stream, it could like wrap itself around a ghost. That is because the Spook Chasers, well, each one, they come with a pack-in ghost. And these, they're pretty hard to track down. Especially if you want to grab them at a reasonable price point. I mean, look at this. $500 freaking for a pack-in ghost? Really? I'm not spending $500 on that, especially when there's 4 of them. That's $2 grand US, and I'm in Canada. And with conversion, that's like $42 million. So what is a guy like me supposed to do? Somebody who needs those toys, but just doesn't want to pay those exorbitant prices. Well, I reached out to my friends over at Phantasm Toys, the independent toy studio that we've featured here countless times over the last couple of years. If you've yet to check them out, be sure to do so. We got a link to them down below in the description. So I sent them a message, I told them my dilemma, and today I am beyond excited to announce and show you these bootlegs of knockoffs. Yeah, Phantasm Toys, they have highly accurately recreated the 4 pack-in ghost from Spook Chasers. And I cannot believe how good these look. There are 4 to collect. From left to right, we've got Fanger, Popeyes, Swirly, and I think my favorite, Smiler. And these are great for you out there that actually have the Spook Chaser figures in your collection. But even if you don't, they're gonna scale perfectly well alongside your Kenner Real Ghostbusters toys. I've also got to call out the fact that unlike Sun Gold's original knockoffs, these offerings from Phantasm Toys, each ghost, they are appropriately colored to what is shown on the original Spook Chaser packaging. If you're unaware, for the most part, a lot of these ghosts, they were just kind of like randomly colored. Some were green, some were yellow, purple. There was no rhyme or reason to the madness. But Phantasm, they finally fixed this, meaning that Slimer's bootleg, his knockoff, is now green. And again here, I cannot get over how accurate of a recreation these are. I mean, I was never in Sweden in the 1980s, so I really have no idea how their toy aisles looked, but to me, this thing looks like it leaped right out of a Swedish toy aisle circa 1988. Now moving on from Smiler here, let's go ahead and take a look at the other 3. Cast in orange, we have got Fanger. And this thing, it just looks like a big pile of gelatinous slime with its fangs showing. After that, we've got Popeyes, and I said Popeyes, not Popeye. Really cool design here as he lives up to the name with his eyeballs just kind of like popping off the top of his head. His mouth appears to be open there, like it's almost like stretching slime. Ah yeah, this one's really good, but I think up next, this is my favorite, as we've got Swirly, cast in a translucent pink. Out of the 4, to me, this one seems most like an RGB figure. I mean, after all, clearly it's been inspired by one. And in similar fashion to that Kenner pack-in ghost, these, they can fit atop each of the ghost's typically packaged together counterpart. And with Sungold's figure, Smiler, he wouldn't fit over Egon's head. But these new offerings from Phantasm, it's a perfect fit. As I alluded to earlier, these not only look great with Sungold's Spook Chasers line, but they'll also pair up perfectly with your pre-existing Real Ghostbusters toy collection. Being able to fit atop the legit and real copyrighted renditions of Peter, Egon, Ray, and Winston. Needless to say, I cannot thank Phantasm Toys enough for making these, and if you'd like to add Fanger, Popeyes, Swirly, and Smiler to your collection, they are available as of this video's release on phantasmtoys.com. As already mentioned, we got a link to it down below in this video's description. Now with that said, that does it for our look today at Sungold's Spook Chasers toy line. As always, be sure to subscribe. If you'd like to join up with Ghostbusters news, check out our Patreon page. A link to that is also down below in this video's description, and I'll see you right back here next time.